The Olympus E-PL3 is a beautiful little camera from 2011. You've probably never heard of it. It's a light version from the Olympus pen line with a micro four thirds 12 megapixel sensor. It's my main photography camera and it's what helped me fall in love with this craft. In truth, there are way better cameras out there with bigger sensors and more features. Really, the best camera you've never heard of is probably one you already have. The one that makes you want to take pictures because it captures images that you can see and feel and hear. The point of my photography is to document the world that I see around me. There is a lot of hype right now around older digital cameras and the general vintage vibe they bring. I think a lot of this comes down to texture. When we see this footage, it brings back memories we can almost reach out, touch, and feel. When I see that vintage digital look, it does bring me back to when I was a kid. It is nostalgic. My Olympus E-PL3 doesn't fully fall into this category. Though its video capabilities aren't the best, the pictures do come out pretty sharp. However, not quite as sharp as newer cameras, it lies somewhere in the middle. And that's how I feel that I see the world in real life. Most things really aren't so smooth and sharp and neat, like my GH5 for example might make it seem. But not everything is so pixelated or gritty either. So I feel like my little Olympus E-PL3 falls somewhere in the middle of nostalgia and the pristine. It makes me feel like now. It makes me feel present. Anyway, so many people take pictures with their nice fancy new cameras just to go into the computer and make it look more digital vintage in post-production. So, come on. Beyond this, I particularly enjoy the 4:3 aspect ratio for the same reason. I like to see pictures as little windows into the world, and a comfortable shape for that to fall in is the more square 4:3. And also, wider aspect ratios always, make me think of videos and films instead of photography. It doesn't really go that deep, but it's what I prefer, and 4:3 is the only aspect ratio I can get on this camera. Actually, I learned photography on this camera, and it does have little to offer in terms of changing settings and video and other things that, might have distracted me from the get-go. While the settings can't really change all that much on this camera, the micro four thirds mount is very versatile. I have a variety of lenses on different mounts that can easily attach to my E-PL3 micro four thirds camera mount with an adapter. That's true for a lot of cameras and mounts, but it's definitely a pro for this one. So it boils down to simplicity and versatility, two aspects that have allowed me to quickly immerse myself fully into photography, to experiment, learn, and take photos that I really enjoy. I do have better cameras that have more megapixels and features, but none of them quite feel like my Olympus E-PL3. If you look at the general discourse online over gear, it's always upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. Get the newest camera with just a few more megapixels and slightly better ISO performance in a cycle that doesn't really have anything to do with the pictures you actually take. Megapixels indicate how big your digital photo is, the file. Bigger picture, higher quality. This is a true and fair factor in what camera you want to use, but it's not everything. My photos end up on Instagram and YouTube, so a phone, a TV, a computer screen. 12 megapixels equals about 4,000 by 3,000 pixels, which is already a higher resolution than most TVs, computer monitors, and phones anyway. So the pictures that I take on this camera have more than enough information to show up on the screens they're mostly seen on. What about printing? Well, of course, a higher quality, higher resolution picture is going to be able to be printed larger. How big do you actually want to print your photo? I've gotten great results with 11 by 14 prints, which isn't huge, but isn't small either. How big does it really have to be? I'm not saying throw away your fancy gear. I'm saying remember what you're shooting for. If I was getting paid to shoot a wedding, sports, portraits, whatever it may be, I'm gonna use my better camera like a GH5 for more commercial success, and that's totally fine. But when I'm out on a walk shooting for myself, my extended portfolio, my own artwork, I'm gonna choose a camera I feel I express myself best with, which for me happens to be this older little digital camera rather than my newer ones. And I don't just love this camera because it's adequate. Technically speaking, I love it for how it captures the world as I see it. Instead of obsessing over new gear, spending thousands of dollars, that first camera that made you fall in love with photography might just be the one you needed all along. It might be a fancy new camera or a forgotten little camera from 2011. You should use gear that helps you express yourself through your photography, that allows you to experiment and improve, that doesn't distract you from actually taking the pictures that you want to take. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. What I usually post are photo albums, which are just montages of pictures I take over the course of a few days, during a day, on a particular lens, at a particular place, whatever it may be. That's what I usually post, but I might be making more videos just like this. You're just gonna have to stick around and find out.